Hi, I'm Christina, and welcome to this episode of Women's Health, Wealth, and Happiness Interviews to Inspire. This is our special panel edition of our Inspiring Women. Let's welcome MaryJane and Julie. Hi, ladies. Tell us a little bit about you.
Good day to our friends and viewers around the world. My name is Mary Jane, and I am an entrepreneur based in the Philippines. And currently, I am doing everything, promoting women empowerment, trying to bridge the gap, making sure that we can move forward together. Thank you for the kind invitation, Christina.
Yeah, so my name is Julie Eccleston. I am professionally an executive loan officer with Rocket Mortgage. So I help people either buy homes or manage their property wealth, if you will, through kind of mortgage solutions. And I'm based out of Cleveland, Ohio, here in the United States. And in my spare time, love to travel, love to spend time with my family, and of course, my 2-year-old rescue dog, who you may see run back and forth in. She's hard to contain some days. But also, very much like MaryJane, excited for the conversation. Always love, perspectives and stories and just learning where people really come from and how that shapes their lives and their ability to do what they want to do out in the world. So I'm excited to see what we come up with. And again, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have you ladies here, again, from across the world, literally on the other side of the world, to share our experiences. MaryJane, do you have questions for Julie?
Nowadays, you've mentioned that you're helping people get loans from the banks. Yeah.
Yep. So
Okay.
I help people finance houses, buy houses, or make sure that their mortgages fit their lifestyle for the houses they already own.
In connection with what you do as a loan specialist, helping people secure their homes. So, do you think this is a good time to get loans from the bank right at this point in time?
I do. I think 2025 is going to be very interesting for a couple of different reasons. One, we have our Federal Reserve, who are our independent body, who one, make sure inflation is in check, and then two, make sure, Americans are out there working and kind of managing the two, which obviously over the past couple of years has been a little bit of a problem. We've had high inflation, which has caused a lot of consumers, homeowners, non-consumers to kind of feel it a little bit on their monthly budget. So from a Federal Reserve perspective, they just lowered interest rates again. This is now second or third time that they've done, I think the second time that they've done it. Well, that does not have a direct correlation on mortgage rates. They don't control mortgage rates. It obviously speaks to consumer confidence and also speaks to the fact that, the price of credit, right? So mainly credit cards, lines of credit is going down. That's a real positive that will help from a credit worthiness of wanting to buy a home, and also an affordability, which really is one of the biggest challenges right now in America if we look coast to coast. But if we look into the next administration and just kind of some of the things that they've publicly come out and said, hey, these are talking points, this is what I'm looking at. I think one of the things that we'll see is a little bit more of like deregulation when it comes to like new construction and building. For builders, several years ago, there were a lot of permit issues, or there was a lot of, bottlenecks, if you will, in the process of actually building new homes. So I think that we will see a lot more development of like homes, single family homes, not necessarily commercial, single family homes or multifamily homes, but for folks like me and you and Christina to live in, as opposed to big companies, which I think will open up inventory, which will allow folks to move. So I think some of the bottlenecks that we've seen over the past few years of like higher interest rates, regardless of, who's in office, whatever the case may be, those two things, I think are really going to help America be able to buy homes again. And I, knock on wood, am expecting that we will see, and I'd say Q2 of 2025. That would be my kind of prediction. And it's really interesting you asked this question. So right before this, in a couple weeks, I'm going to be hosting an event with our head of capital markets for Rocket. He's being kind enough to sit down like this and interview for some of our realtor partners to talk about these two things of interest rates and inventory, which are the biggest things that are impacting the housing market right now, and kind of that bottleneck of folks being able to buy and sell.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Consumer confidence is equivalent to investors' confidence.
Mhm.
If you have that prediction for 2025, I think it's also good for us. Then we would be interested to visit your country because the economy, the market is vibrant and all these things. It's good for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It means business for you and me and for Christina.
Yeah.
And for all
sure.
the small business owners out there. That's what is good about conversation. We're not so focused on what's being put out there by the media.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk to the business owner themselves, you get this perspective. You get this, the real deal because they're the ones running the show.
Mm-hmm. And being
So
in the
thank
thick of
you.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
and thank
sure.
you, Julie, for that because I've been having other, invitations to go to other country. But now in 2025, I think I might, you
Yeah,
know.
come on. We'll take you. We'll be happy to have you come visit.
Oh yeah, because if I go there, we'll have this in-person health, wealth, and happiness, meet up.
Mhm.
And what do you think? Can we do that in Cleveland or
Yeah. If
in
Christina will come back, she says she doesn't always she only likes to come to Cleveland in certain months because our weather is not amazing in other months. It's cold right now. It's cold and gloomy right now. We are entering that stage of, so come during the summer, and I think nothing beats Cleveland in the summer.
yeah.
Winter, I understand, but
My joke is I'm allergic to the snow. And question, Julie, on that too. I know inventory will push housing prices.
Mhm.
How much does the interest rates dictate that or run alongside with that?
Well, I think that you see it, right? Like more in the fact of buyer demand. And the interesting thing is that we came off of 2 to 3 years of historically unprecedented artificial interest rates in the twos and the threes, which was amazing. And kudos to everyone that was able to take advantage of it. But we get into this mindset that that's it, that's the normal. And a lot of times I mean, myself and folks in my position, loan officers who, quite frankly, should know better, the same, get stuck on those 2 to 3% numbers. But we forget about the fact that it literally took the world shutting down and everything that came along with it for us to get there. So we then saw this massive increase from twos to sevens and eights in a really, really quick time frame. And so to me, what it equates to is affordability, right? And you look at your payment going from on a $400,000 house, $900 a month to $2,000 a month. That's a huge difference, especially when your paychecks aren't doing the same thing. And then inflation is higher. And so groceries are significantly more, which I think got a lot of folks into a pinch. So all of this to say, as far as inventory is concerned, you've got all these sellers who say, okay, even if this house isn't my perfect house or we're a little cramped because now we've had 2 kids, I am paying so much lower than I would if I went and got another home. I'm just going to either build on or suffer through it or figure it out. And so when we start to see interest rates come down, again, I don't think that we will be back in the twos and the threes, but I do think that low to mid fives is definitely within reach within the next year, which again is kind of a considerable. It will, one, allow some of those folks who feel rate locked in their rates of twos and threes to say, you know what, okay, yes, I understand that I'm going up, but now I have all this more equity. My payment might go up a little, but it's not going to go up a lot. It will allow them to move. And so those housing will become available. And so that's where interest rates to me kind of play a difference in where inventory will be is the fact that can we get some of these folks who are rate locked to move, to open that up. A lot of times for like starter homes and first time home buyers. I think the other thing that we will start to see, maybe not next year, but with over the next 5 years, is what is often referred to as the silver tsunami of the fact that we have all of these folks who are now a little bit older, probably like your parents, my in-laws, who are in a position that they probably don't need these 3,000 square foot homes, 2-story, 3-story homes when they're transitioning into a different stage in terms of life, whether that means, hey, they have to go into more of a assisted living, or maybe that you see more multi-generational. So those properties will also, within, as I say, the next like 5-10 years, become available. And that I think is really going to move the market. I don't think that we're going to see a market correction as far as housing prices. I talk to a lot of clients who are like, well, I'm going to wait for the market to crash. And I don't see that where it comes to housing prices simply because we don't have enough inventory, right? Like that housing crash would come if we have like way too many homes and not enough buyers. Well, right now we have a ton of people who would love to buy a home, just don't have a house that they can buy and they can afford.
Yes.
Hmm.
The resounding yes I hear on that
Yeah.
because, I'm just thinking that is the American dream, right? To buy
Hmm.
that house.
Hmm.
So, we know that people will do whatever it takes to make that dream happen. But I do find that interesting too. Simply the adding on, I could see that being
Hmm.
the alternative for a lot of people as well. I mean, obviously, the housing situation is much different in the Philippines, but when it comes to finances, when you see the economy of the United States thriving and people having more expendable income, do you notice that in business? Do you notice that in travelers that come to the Philippines to help promote the economy there as well?
This is the truth. Whatever happens in the US, we're always affected. We are the biggest economy, whether we like it or not. So whenever you're up, we're also like, hey, thank you, you're up. So, we're happy. It has an impact on the currency. There are ways where we can leverage on those things. Like when you mention about, when your economy is good and thriving, of course, more Americans will have that spending power, that purchasing power, so they can easily get out of your country to spend your money because your
Hmm.
money has more value outside of the US. It's also good for us because in Asia, the Americans would always pick the Philippines to go to rather than go to Thailand or Indonesia or Singapore or Vietnam. You feel good visiting your little brother in Asia. I think it's good for us. If you do good,
Hmm.
we will also do good because you will come to us and it's good for our economy. The past 2 years, we're happy to welcome, 3 million, 4 million. I have to check on the accurate numbers, but it keeps on growing. But of course, we have to look into the infrastructure of the
Hmm.
country. We're looking into that now because we have to keep up with our neighboring countries. To answer your question, Christina, I think, yeah, it's good for us. If you do well, it's also good for our economy because we will be welcoming more and more Americans to visit the country and even to retire in the Philippines. I am representing the Philippine Retirement Authority. We provide a special resident retirees visa to foreign nationals, not just the US, but the other nationalities as well, welcoming more and more tourist countries like Korea, Japan, fellow Asians. So, but of course, we would love to have more Americans come to the Philippines, to live and retire or just visit the Philippines. And you're more than welcome to come, Julie, and
Yeah, it's
we'll
on my
take good
list.
care. Yeah, we'll take good care of you.
Yeah, I have no
And
doubt you will.
yeah, of course. It's about time for you to see the other side of the world.
Julie, do you have questions that you would like to ask MaryJane?
MaryJane, you have such a long history of entrepreneurship, and we were talking about it a little bit before of, you've innovated, you've created. Where do you where do you draw not just even your inspiration? And I say that because I think that there are a lot of folks out there who are inspired and want to and have the desire, but how do you take that inspiration and actually put it into implementation over and over and over again so successfully?
I've shared this with other women as well, that it's very important for us to have purpose in whatever we're doing. I found that purpose long time ago, and that is to be of service to others. In all of my initiatives, I always make it a point to serve the community.
Mm.
I always put premium on the thought of being of service to them. And so whenever I have business transactions or business ventures, I would always set aside something for the community.
Oh, that's so great.
And that's what makes me so powerful, because other people can see that.
Mm.
Other people can see through what I'm doing, and what I'm doing is not just for profit, but it's also for people and for the planet. Profit, people, and planet. We're trying to save the environment. No? We're trying to, for me personally, I'm always intentional with my desire to give back to the community.
I think
You
that's
know,
so important. Yeah. What are the causes that you find that you're most drawn to and wanting to support and really want to showcase?
well, as a woman, of course, women empowerment is one of my advocacies. Women, children, and the elderly.
Mhm.
You will never go wrong when you have these three. Whenever I do something with my business and with my initiatives, I always try to incorporate how I can help the children, how I can help women, like how I can help the senior citizens in my locality, and wherever I go, wherever I go.
What are you working on right now that you're most excited about that you're able to talk about?
Oh yeah, yeah. I can talk to you about my projects, like one day is not enough. I have some
Mhm.
projects that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay, I just partnered with Allianz. It is actually an insurance company, one of the biggest in the world.
Mhm.
It's a German company. Prior to returning to the Philippines, I was a certified financial consultant in Singapore with HSBC Bank. They've offered me a good package. So I'm trying to mentor, a group of financial advisors, how they could prospect properly.
Mhm.
And that's what makes me very busy nowadays, because I am doing this all over the Philippines. The Philippines is a huge country as well. 7,000 plus 7,100 plus islands, depending on low tide or high tide. I am building teams around the country. And in addition to this, I'm also consulting with government agencies and private entities. Now I am going back to events. I'll be starting my regional events in Southeast Asia, beginning with, of course, the Philippines and the other, 9 countries comprising the ASEAN bloc, promoting women empowerment. And I'm also into sports. I'm doing this as part of my corporate social responsibility with the young kids, poor kids in my community.
Mhm.
And I feel good doing this. Whenever I see that ripple effect with my friends, because they tend to help whenever they see me with all these things, because they know that if I say that I'll do it, I'll really do it. And so that's the kind of impact that I would like to see, to
Mhm.
encourage people, to help other people as well.
Yeah, we can't do it alone, especially being in that like financial planning space. What I'm kind of curious about is what is the state of, like, would you say, financial literacy for everyday folks like you and I in the Philippines, some of these Asian countries that you are fortunate enough to kind of partner with? How do you see just again, like the everyday citizen or the everyday person, their kind of like knowledge, their control over financial literacy within your countries.
Well, let me talk about the Philippines. The
Okay.
Philippines is not that financially literate, I should say.
Mhm.
A lot of people are still unbanked. They don't have their bank accounts. Both the government and the private sector, they're partnering with all the stakeholders to promote financial literacy, financial inclusion, and so we can include everyone. Let's talk about women. I'm talking about the women who are living outside of the cities,
Mhm.
the women who are living in far-flung communities. The reason why they don't have access to their bank accounts, they don't have their bank accounts, it's because of poverty. They're not empowered enough to go to a bank, open an account under their name. And it is something that I am also very interested to get involved with. Close the gap by empowering women, to have employment, education, training, and so they'll be financially independent.
Yeah.
Those things are very important. But of course, it's not easy. It's always
Yeah.
like a process. Even in the US, I think there are also women out there who are not also financially literate and
Yeah.
independent.
Yeah. Very much so. I always like to think of like financial independence is the best form of self-care. And I remember being told this by, I don't know if it was like a boss or a leader, a mentor, like very, very young on is, hey, you know what? Like one of your goals is to one day have a screw you account where like if you are ever in a position that you don't feel comfortable, it's not what you want, you feel like you're compromised, that you can literally turn to someone and be like, you know what? Like screw you. Like I'm not, this isn't, it's not what he called it, but I'm trying to be polite on the podcast. Like I'm not putting myself in and I'm financially in a position that I can make those decisions. And I work with a lot of women, men, single, married, all the things, right? It doesn't matter, but I do find that a lot with women. And if we think about our country, it was 50 years ago, I want to say this month, that women could actually get a loan or get a credit card on their own without needing to have a male cosigner, whether that was a husband, a father, or a brother. I think that we do have a long way to go in terms of financial literacy, not just for women, but for everyone. It is very much a passion project of mine. Um, but it also does amaze me how many women that I speak with who do well, have great careers, make great money, who are like, oh, I don't know, I just either I let my husband handle that, or like, I just don't know, or I'm not really worried to know. And that does some days, concern me for them of saying like, hey, like, this is how you put yourself at a disadvantage, even if you are making the money and you have the money and you have the ability to invest or use that. But that's how you're keeping yourself at a disadvantage by not taking those steps of education and putting yourself into a position that, if bad things happen, and the reality of the world is like bad things are going to happen. Doesn't matter how well planned you are, doesn't matter how successful you are, like bad things are going to happen. Like, are you protecting and are you like safeguarding yourself against it? Which is why I love the fact that Christina, you focus on health, wealth, and happiness, like all because really they all go together in a lot of ways. I've had a lot of conversations recently that have really like resonated that, and they all have just ironically been with women and their mindsets on money and how they look at money and how they look at, in my particular case too, it's usually somehow related to home ownership or living and how that kind of plays on. So I mean, I think a lot about that of how fortunate I feel that when I had parents who said, even though we didn't talk a lot about money growing up, but they were always like, you need to invest in your 401k, like, okay, great, start early and know that that was always the thing that you had to do, but have also like encouraged me to, get the knowledge, to invest, to put myself in rooms where you can have conversations about money, and you can have conversations about finance, and you can have conversations about, dreaming bigger and serving others, and the whole idea of you can do well by doing good, which is why I love that becomes so part of your mission. So I also feel like a lot of women that I speak with and work with, just personally and professionally, think that like, hey, if I'm going to go out and serve others, I have to do it at a discount, or I have to do it as a nonprofit, or I have to do it volunteer, where you can make a really great impact from a great space while doing well for yourself. You don't have to discount yourself, and you shouldn't discount yourself.
Yeah.
I think I've heard MaryJane say the similar
Yeah.
thing there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. The reason why I accepted that offer from Allianz to join their company is because I have that power to help create awareness, to extend financial planning, to provide that advice to families and individuals.
Mhm.
So again, it's not just about money, but it's about sharing my knowledge, my expertise with these people.
Mhm.
So, in the Philippines, if I may share this, the insurance penetration is less than 5%. So, the 95% of my countrymen, they don't have insurance coverage. So, imagine that. So, to me, that is unacceptable. What can we do? Well, I'm doing my share. It is an opportunity for me to serve my countrymen, to
Mhm.
help them with their financial planning
Yeah.
at the very least.
And both of you have done something in regards to younger people. You have your project, MaryJane. I'd like you to share that one, your banks. And then Julie, I want you to share about your teaching of high school kids.
I have so many projects with the kids, but yeah, recently we all have bamboo. It's just everywhere in the Philippines. So since I'm into protecting the environment and I love bamboo, I also have projects with government agencies about bamboo engineering. But this one with the kids, I introduced them to saving at a very young age. I gave them coin banks made of bamboo. The kids that just in my neighborhood, in back home in the province, I tried to talk to them and told them that I'm going to give you money, and I put money there just to start.
Yeah.
And I told them that you put coins, you can come back to me if it's your birthday.
Mhm.
So I listed down their birthdays, and I will match the amount that you will be able to save.
Amazing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. So I made sure that I will be able to monitor, because there are like so many kids. So every
Yeah.
month I have my list. So I don't want to be, I don't want to, these are kids, I want to be their role model. So I made sure that I have, the proper listing. But you know what? I am so disheartened because the parents, entice them to break the coin bank because they would like to make use of the money inside. Kids, I saw like one or two, and I told them, why is it that you did not come back and you already celebrated your birthday? And then they said, you know what? Because my mom, when kids said, you know what, my mom, broke that coin bank because they have nothing to buy, you know, for them to buy rice or something.
Yeah.
So it broke my heart because it's not how parents should teach their children. you know and you know what, Christina, it's really something that is very personal because these are kids, and for a mother to do that to her kid, I think it's a great disservice.
Mhm.
I did not push through with that because nobody came back to me, except I think two or three or four, because of that. The same incident, the mothers would break the coin bank. So again, Julie, what can you do in this situation?
Yeah. And I think that's a matter of continuing the cycle, right? Of not growing if you always need it. Yeah, it's hard. Are there a lot of support services for families in need in the Philippines? Like food
Is
banks or
Oh yeah, yeah. There are so many initiatives from the government.
yeah.
But the thing is, some are really lazy, you know,
Yeah.
indolence, that's the problem. I just shared with you that disappointment.
Yeah.
But I kind of used to that because I've been doing so many, you know, initiatives, intervention. But I keep on pushing back. I keep on coming back. I keep on like making things, exciting for them.
Hmm.
Like different ways of, different ways of helping. Because I don't want to also waste my energy and my time if I will continue something that they don't want to support.
Yeah. I mean,
You know,
that's a whole changing of probably family dynamics and mindset, right? That takes years in terms of, because really it's not about the kids, it's about the parents of like, hey, this is how I was raised. You know, this is the need. You need to support the family as opposed to like, hey, can we break the cycle so you can be the one that does better than the last generation? Which that's a challenge. I mean, that's something that takes years to
yeah. So
um
what I'm doing now, Julie, is I'm concentrating on educating the children,
yeah,
making sure that they would, I'm supporting in my humble way and in my direct, intervention, like giving direct assistance to the kids, not to the parents.
yeah,
Like the kids, don't tell your parents that I give you something.
yeah,
As long as you will study and I will support you
yeah,
because it's the only way. Like giving them school supplies, sports equipment, not money anymore,
yeah,
but in kind.
and doing it that way. So I
Yeah.
volunteer a lot in the our local high schools, and high schools are probably aged, oh, I don't know, Christina, what would you say, 14 to 18
Yeah.
would be like freshman to
Mhm.
senior? So I participate through an organization called Junior Achievement, which you have in the Philippines. It's an international organization, but it specifically takes, business folks or folks in the community, entrepreneurs like yourself, and puts them into local classrooms to talk about personal financial literacy and giving a lot of those skills so that they can succeed. So the class specifically that I taught last year, and I will probably teach again in the spring, is a stock market challenge. So where we will go into, and I'll go into our inner city Cleveland public schools that a lot of times volunteers don't want to go into. For young people, probably very similar who aren't getting this education at home most of the time because it's not something that their parents may have been exposed to, and really talking about how to invest, the impact of the stock market. How do you invest in the stock market? One of the things that I find so much more intriguing now versus when I was that age is the accessibility of actually, as a young person, being able to invest in stocks and being able to have a portfolio that you can even do it through the Cash App. You can do it, I want to say you have to be 16 to be able to participate in like Cash App or some of those and actually be able to start to invest. And it's not something that maybe we really talked about when I was that age with parents who talked to me about it at home. And so I always find that like very reassuring of having these conversations with these young people of like, okay, this is how, 'cause in inner city urban school districts, there is a lot of poverty, there is a lot of distrust, there is a lot of different ethnic groups and populations who have a lot of fear of banks, right? Who maybe weren't treated fairly in the past, and really excluded from that, where you were talking about financial inclusion before, like weren't financially included. And so being able to talk through this is why putting your money into a high yield savings account or investing in the market is actually going to help you get ahead versus just taking that money, put it in a safe or a shoebox or a mattress where, look, that dollar 10 years from now is going to be a dollar as opposed to that dollar maybe being $1.10 or $1.20. And, what are the costs of goods? And I really find that beneficial, but probably very same. You're in a classroom of 20, maybe 2 or 3 students are going to get it. And
Yeah.
and I look at it as like, look, if 2 or 3 students get it, and even if it makes just a smidge, okay, awesome. Like, even if that's your thought process, like down the road, great. Like I've done my duty. Or even just giving a different perspective of, hey, this is a perspective outside of your neighborhood.
Yeah, and congratulations to you.
Mhm.
I think we need more people like you.
Mhm.
Yeah, sometimes it's very disappointing, but we just keep on, moving forward. We
Yeah.
just keep on helping as long as we can. That's my take on that. You know,
Mhm.
I'm here to help
Yeah.
as long as they will also cooperate.
Yeah. And I do feel more reassured, I think, than I have in the past that, financial literacy is more of a topic in today's day and age than it has ever been before. And I think that that is so reassuring that, like, okay, that's how we're going to get there is by talking about it and talking about, money and wealth and, in my case, housing, and how does this all go together, budgeting, and how does this all feel together?
Yeah, and it's
So,
interesting on that note, I found out recently the county schools where I live in, they're actually starting to add that in starting in middle school now.
mm,
Financial literacy classes that will go throughout high school, not
mm,
just a semester, but from seventh grade to 12th grade. And that
yeah.
is so wonderful because it's been something we've needed for so long.
Yeah.
Julie, would you like to say some last words before we end today?
Ooh, on the hot seat, huh? No, I think this was a really great discussion. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives. And I really think it's a great reminder in this world of ours, right? With so many changes and so many things and so many differing views, especially right now here in the United States. The best reminder is two things. One, have the conversation, right? Have the polite conversation here, hear a different perspective. But really, I think, MaryJane, one of the biggest things that I got from you is like, and take the action. I do think that there are so many people, myself included, who have, great ideas, who think like, oh, this is what I would like to do, but actually taking the time and doing the action and doing the action, not just for yourself, but doing the action for your community. Because when we all think about others or someone else will be thinking about you, and we'll all get further ahead together.
Thank you to you, and thank you, Julie, for your time. I love that you are also doing your share in sharing your expertise with these young kids.
Mhm.
And as you know, we know that nowadays, through the internet, the advent of online investing, investing in, the stock market we don't need a broker anymore.
Right.
We can just go online and, download this app and we can do that. But the basic education is necessary for them to be able to have that well-informed decision,
Yes.
when it comes to the initiatives that they would, take
Mhm.
eventually. So what you're doing is something that is commendable, and I commend you. I hope more and more in your community will do the same. And thank you again, Christina, for this opportunity.
Well, thank you, ladies. I love this conversation about finances. This is so important. It's such an important topic, and for you both to share your experiences. What a wealth of information. Thank you for joining me today. both MaryJane and Julie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Subscribe and click the link below to find out about bonus tracks and how to join our community.